Bienvenidos and welcome everyone to another episode of Average Jose Sports Talk. I'm your host, Jeremiah,
And I'm the other guy, Cullen.
and we have got a good episode for you guys today. The Broncos and the Bears finally played, a lot to talk about there. Oregon is moving up in the rankings, and Georgia is starting to struggle. But as you all know, before we get to all that juicy stuff, we got to do a quick quiz bowl. And it's kind of funny doing a quiz bowl today because Broncos and Bears played, so it really doesn't matter who wins the quiz bowl because we're both talking about the same game. But it's just fun to test each other. So, you want me to go first, or what are you thinking?
Whatever, man. You
I
can go
can, I
first,
can,
and I can
I
do
can
my
go
2
first,
point.
and then you can do your. Yeah, cool. All right, everybody. So, as we all know, the Bears are struggling this season, off to a 0-4 start after losing to the Broncos. So, the last time the Bears had a winning season was 2018 when they went 12-4, clinched their division. Honestly, a really good record. Since then, it was like 8-8, 8-8, and then like 3-win type seasons. Okay. So we're going to go back to 2018 to kind of date this a little bit. So the first question is, what was the Billboard year-end top single? So what single finished at number one for 2018? And or who was the artist that finished at number one for top single?
I don't know the top songs and stuff. I'm not
Just think of
typically in.
what you were hearing a lot during that time.
2018 was such a blur to me. I wanted to say Uptown Funk, but I think that was like
That was a
3
few
years
years.
before.
Yeah, it was way before that.
I have no idea. I'm just gonna say something by Taylor Swift, just because
No,
that's how my life is going right now.
it was God's Plan by Drake.
Oh, really? I didn't realize that was 2018.
The last time the Bears had a winning season, God's Plan was the number one song.
That is crazy because I haven't heard that song in years.
In years. Yeah, when I was doing this, I saw that it was God's Plan, and I was like, oh, this is going to date it for sure. All right, hit me with your two-parter.
All right. What year did the 2-point conversion come into play?
Oh, I thought you were
first started the 2-point conversion.
1971.
1994.
94. Wow. I know that the first person to make a 2-point conversion was like a punter. Because they mentioned it in the Toy Story broadcast. They're like, who scored the first 2-point conversion? And it said like it was like a kicker or punter or something. I'm guessing because it was a botched PAT field goal, and he ran it out for like a 2-point, and they're like, oh, I guess that's 2 points.
Well, my second part of it is, what was the play that converted the first 2-point conversion?
I'm gonna say, I'm trying to think, is it a botched one or is it a fake? I want to say it's a botched field goal attempt.
The very first 2-point conversion was a faked 1-point attempt for the Cleveland Browns against the Bengals in the first week of the 1994 season. So very first 2-point ever, they weren't even like, yeah, we're going to do it from like the line. No, they faked a field goal from however many yards out and were able to convert it.
That's crazy that's insane that the NFL was like, all right, new rule. Instead of just always doing field goals for one, you guys can go for two now. And then they're just like, oh, okay. So then week one, the Browns were like, well, I guess let's try it. They hit it right away.
I mean, what a game that would have been. Cleveland Browns versus the Bengals. In 1994.
Right, because it's not like the Bengals. I don't know. I don't think the Bengals have been good since I don't think they got good until like 2 years ago. I don't think I've ever heard.
I don't even think they had a close season getting to the playoffs before.
That's crazy.
Ago.
I knew that it was a kicker that scored it. I couldn't tell. I couldn't remember if it was. Dang, zeros on the board. Next one, sticking with the 2018 trend. What movie dominated the domestic box office in 2018? It's a superhero movie. I'll give you that.
2018. That would have been Infinity War. No. Yeah. No. Yeah. Infinity War.
Infinity War did come out that year, and it was number 2 after Black Panther.
Black Panther came out the same year as Infinity War?
Yeah, came out in February.
I didn't realize they released it that close to the
I didn't realize that they released it,
of both of them.
Yeah, Black Panther was February, and Infinity War, I want to say, was April. Like
that makes sense, though, because Black Panther was huge.
It was huge, but, like, that's just insane because it feels like it was Black Panther was like years before Infinity War came out. Like it feels like there's a good chunk between there, but no.
Yeah.
So yeah, the last time the Bears had a winning season, Black Panther was dominating was everything everyone was talking about.
Hated her.
Give me your third one.
What is the record for the most penalties ever committed in one game combined for both teams? Both teams combined in one single game.
Well, I want to say, do you have the teams? I want to say the Raiders was one of the teams.
I do have the teams.
Oh my gosh. I know the Raiders have like the record for most in a season at like 56 or something. So I want to say 28.
The most penalties ever committed in one single game, 1976, when the Seattle Seahawks and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers combined for 39 penalties.
Oh, 11
and
off. That's
310 penalty yards.
That's insane, dude. That's 3 touchdowns worth of penalties.
Yeah, they went 3 football fields and had almost 40 combined penalties.
Do you have the score of that game? What was the score of that game?
I do not have a score of that game, but I can look it up while you give me yours.
Jeez. All right. This one is football related. Okay. Who was in the 2018 Super Bowl? Who are the 2 teams?
Eagles, Patriots.
Eagles, Patriots. Good job. Eagles won
that. I remember that because it was the double doink season that we lost to the Eagles.
Eagles won 41-33, and it's known as one of the best Super Bowls in history.
Yeah, because Tom Brady went down and Nick Foles was playing out of his mind.
Yeah, that was the Nick Foles era of the Eagles, where no one thought the Eagles could do it, and all of a sudden Nick Foles led them to a Super Bowl. It's insane. Just a couple more to like date the 2018 season for the Bears. Do you know who was in the NBA Finals?
I have no idea. I don't pay attention. I wasn't paying attention.
This was during the Warriors Cavaliers, like 4 seasons in a row, and they're in the finals. The Warriors swept the Cavaliers. That's the 4-0'd them. I think this came after the Cavaliers had the comeback finals where they were down 3-1 or whatever.
Yeah.
And then last one, who was the Bears quarterback that season?
I want to say that was Mitch Trubisky's like second season.
Yep. It was good old Trubisky. Led him to the conference championship.
Yeah, because he came in, they did that, and then they had, not good seasons after. They had decent seasons after.
8-8 they're 8-8 back-to-back seasons after that.
And then they're like, nope, he's out of here. They just kicked him to the curb, and they fired Matt Nagy, and since then
destroyed their defense. Yeah, so that was the last time that the Bears had a winning season. Was when I graduated high school.
I'm assuming this is the same game, but not positive. It says Seahawks would go on to lose their first 5 games before beating Tampa Bay Buccaneers 13-10.
I was gonna say that's got to be a low-scoring game with that many penalty yards. That's crazy.
I would assume it's the same one because I don't think those teams typically play each other more than once in a season. But I wasn't there in 1976.
My dad was, but he was 1 year old. So. Can't ask him.
My parents were not even thought about it by
then. Sweet, dude. Well, you took the quiz bowl with your Super Bowl answer, so let's go ahead and break down this Bears Broncos game right off the bat.
I would love to.
Let me hear your takeaways right away.
All right. So obviously Bears lost, 28-31.
Obviously.
After having that 21-point lead, I thought they were going to go in, okay, and just be insane. I thought they were going to go in and dominate the field. They're in Chicago. They are coming off, a week against Chiefs. The Broncos are coming off 50-point loss to the Dolphins. I was like, they don't want to lose this game, and they played like they didn't want to lose that game. They
played great. I mean, Justin Fields' stats were insane.
28 of 35, 335 yards, 4 touchdowns. I mean, if you look at Russell Wilson's stats, 21 of 28, 223, still had 3 touchdowns, but like Justin Fields had over 100 more yards than veteran Russell Wilson. More
he put up like 60 points for me in fantasy that week.
Yeah, he had another touchdown, but he did have that interception at the end of the game that sealed it, like he always does. I mean, I can almost guarantee if they're trying to drive the ball down the last minute of the game, there will be an interception.
He's not a clutch time quarterback. I will say that. I don't know if the pressure gets to him or what it is, but he just starts overthinking everything. I feel like he's just trying to
make things happen.
Yeah.
Where they can't, and it's like you have time. You don't have like I think he threw it at 40 seconds left. It was I think like 3rd and 15 or something, but you still have 4th down. You don't have to try to force something, but I can almost guarantee you every time.
How do you feel about the decision to go for it on 4th and not just take a field goal?
I thought that was dumb as shit. I mean, you have the opportunity to tie it up, hold them on defense, possibly get the ball back, go down, get another field goal or touchdown. Yeah. Or just go in overtime, and now you have, you get to rest for a second, talk to your team. But for some reason, you went on it on 4th and 1. When in the first quarter, a shorter 4th and 1, he punted the ball. Why would you go for it 4th and 1, end of the game when you need to tie it up to go into overtime? But you wouldn't go on it 4th and 1 to start the game when it was a fresh clock, fresh downs, fresh everything. Like
I think also like if you force it into overtime, it takes that pressure off of Justin Fields because now it's not like, oh, I've only got 40 seconds to get down and score. Now it's like, all right, I've got a whole drive, a whole new clock. Yeah, maybe the Broncos scored that first drive and we have to score here, but like I've got the time to work. While what we see with, like you were saying with Justin Fields is if there's a minute left on the clock and they're on a game-tying, game-winning drive, you can almost guarantee Justin Fields is turning the ball over.
Yeah, almost every single time. I can guarantee he's going to.
I don't know if it's the clock getting to him, if it's this is it, we have to push it down the field here, or whatever it is. But I feel like if you let it go to overtime, you're almost taking him out of that situation and giving him a better chance than if you're just like, all right, Justin, it's time for you to, step it up and be the team leader and lead us to victory when he hasn't done that once in his, career with the Bears.
Yeah. Another thing is the sacks. He had 4 sacks, one of the lower sack games, honestly, but they were all pretty big sacks. Like they took them into like a 3rd and super long situation.
Yeah.
I would assume one of these sacks was when he fumbled it and it was returned for a touchdown.
Probably.
I would assume they count that as a sack. So that right there, that one, obviously got the Broncos the lead. If they don't have that sack and fumble recovery for a touchdown, the Bears still win that game.
Yeah.
If they don't get the super long 3rd, they're not as far and they don't have to pressure a interception.
Yeah. And I don't think like harping on them for, oh, he threw an interception. Oh, he had a fumble against the worst defense in the league. Like I don't think that's why they lost the game. Obviously, those were big clutch time moments that turned the tide and it led to the loss. But I mean, giving up 31 points is insane after being
Yeah.
up, like getting outscored 31-7 after starting 21-0. Like, I think the Bears defense is what let it down. I mean, Justin
Yeah,
Fields
I
was able
think
to come out, get them, you know, a 3 possession lead, and then the defense just shot themselves in the foot. And then all of a sudden offense is having to make up for it. Well, it's too late at that point. I mean, so I think that's really what got the Bears this week. I don't think you can hate on Justin Fields if you want. You can find something to pick at. Like I said, those 2 turnovers were game defining moments. But I think when it comes down to it, if the defense doesn't allow it to become this close of a game, then those game defining moments mean a lot less.
Yeah, and I mean, we had one of our top safeties out with a foot injury. Another one kept getting called for like a bunch of just random penalties. Some of them I agreed with, some of them I was like, I don't really see that. But we also have one of our starting linemen is out, so that's worse protection for Justin Fields. But looking at the stats, besides the 4 sacks, you wouldn't think that our line was an issue. I think what killed us all in all was just poor coaching. I can say that because I'm not on the team.
You're not gonna get sent
I'm
home.
not going to get sent home or have
Gosh.
to talk to the media and tell them that's not what I mean. That is what I
That's
meant.
another thing, dude. That's like I get that Chase Claypool's been like all talk this season, hasn't contributed anything, and then he's like harping on the coaches and like he shouldn't have been doing that. But to make all the trades and give up as much as they did to get Claypool just for them to be like, you know what, stay home. Like, could you imagine if like I don't know, like the Broncos go through all this to get like Russell Wilson, right? They made all these draft picks, traded away, they traded away some players, all this stuff for Russell Wilson, right? It was a huge trade deal. And then Russell Wilson's like, yeah, man, I don't know. The coaches are kind of calling some whack plays. And there's like, Russell don't even show up to the game tomorrow. Like, could you have, like, that's insane. Like, you have given up so much for this player just for you to throw him off to the side.
I mean, he hasn't done anything anyways. It's
Right.
not like him not being there like super affected the team. I hate him. I don't like that he's on the team. I thought that trade was super dumb when it happened, and I was
Yeah.
very mad. And my favorite meme from this week was Justin Fields without Chase Claypool on the field, and it was Patrick Mahomes in a Bears uniform. I love that because we don't need him. He hasn't done a single thing
Just taking up
since
space.
we got him. He's taking up money, he's taking up space, he's causing a bunch of stuff in the media and with the team. Like, I do not like Chase Claypool. I don't want him on the team. I was happy that he wasn't at the game, and then I still had to hear about him anyways.
Are you hoping that all this drama with him causes the Bears to trade him away then?
I've been hoping they traded him away since the second they got him. I was hoping he showed up at camp and they're like, "Nah, never mind. You can go back."
Gosh. Well, the Bears play the Commanders this week, right?
Thursday night.
You thinking Commanders defense is pretty good, better than the Broncos. How are you thinking Justin Fields is going to do in this game compared to it's a short week too for recovery?
I think Justin Fields has to keep having games like that, or else I don't see him being on the team next season.
Yeah.
I really like him. I want him to be on the team 100%. I think he could change the entire program if the coaches, you know, coached better and made better play calling on the
Yeah.
sideline. But I understand that he also needs to grow.
Right.
And if I told you going into the Broncos game, if he did not have a good game, I could see him just being off the team. If he went into the
Right.
Broncos game who just lost, 70-20,
70-20, yeah.
if he went into that game and just bombed and had 5 interceptions and 12
Against the
passing
worst
yards.
defense in the league.
So I told you, if he did not have a good game, I could 100% see him being off the team. Now I'm a little bit like he needs to have more games to stay on the
Mhm.
team. but I do see him in the right projection. I see him having at least 200 passing yards against Commanders. Not because the Commanders are bad, but if he stays consistent and does what he did last week, I could see him start having more 200-yard games. But again, we need play call. That first half of the Broncos game, we had so many play calls that were different than what we usually do. We didn't run up the middle, screen pass, punt it.
Right.
Second half, we did that. We did that exactly, and that's why we lost our 21-point lead. But that first half, like, we were throwing downfield, we were throwing up the middle, we were running to the sides, we were giving Justin Fields like options to run. And then second half, we went back to run up the middle, screen pass, punt.
Yeah.
Like, obviously, you had a great first half. Why would you change up what you're doing? Why would you decide to go back to what has killed you for the last 2 seasons? That doesn't make any sense to me. For Justin Fields to succeed,
no growth,
for the team to succeed, we need better play calling and better coaching.
Yeah.
I think it's just killing us all around.
Yeah. Well, 4 games in the season, so we'll see where the Bears are heading after this week, because some stuff needs to change for sure. And Commanders coming up this week could be a good testing ground for that. Commanders aren't a cracked out team, but they will give the Bears a good run for their money. And
I mean, they gave the Eagles a run for their money last week.
Right. So, anyways, moving on. The Wyoming Cowboys beat New Mexico 35-26. Wyoming is on a decent run. I think our only loss was to Texas, who's ranked number 3. And next week we're playing Fresno State, who's ranked number 24 now. So if Fresno stays in the ranking and we beat them, I don't know what that says for where we'll be at, but it could be a little bit closer to a ranking. How would you feel after this Cowboys game, though?
I thought it was a great game. I watched it, almost all of it. They had some great super long touchdowns. They had one like 66-yard catch. He threw it like 2 yards past the line of scrimmage, and the wide receiver was able to break out of so many tackles, run from the very right side of the field to the very left side, bob, weave, juke, like stiff arm, like he was making things happen, scored a 66-yard touchdown. Our running back is a beast. Like,
that's what I'm saying, dude. It's rushing's what's dominating for the Cowboys. That's what's working. Peasley's throwing 5-yard passes, and then everyone's making something out of it. So,
but I mean, watching Peasley, he had so many times where the announcers were like, "Oh, he's going to take a sack here," and then all of a sudden he's running out the back, and throws a first down pass. Like, Peasley was making things happen. He was getting out of tough situations and either throwing the ball away or getting positive yardage on what would have been a 10, 15-yard sack.
Yeah.
Obviously, his stats are not
showing,
His stats are, 16 of 25, 194, a touchdown. They're not the best stats, and I wouldn't say he's like the number 1 quarterback, but it's his ability to get out of tough situations and turn it into something that I think makes him a decent quarterback. And like you said, the rushing is obviously what carries us. Right. We had back-to-back weeks with a 75-yard touchdown. In this game, we almost had another one. He did get tackled on like the 9-yard line or something. And he made a joke that his Madden rating speed was going to go down after that because he was able to get, caught. But almost 3 weeks in a row with a 75-yard touchdown from him. He did have like a 46-yard rushing touchdown in the New Mexico game. Defense is playing cracked out of their mind. It was a great defensive game. They almost got a fumble recovery for a touchdown. Almost. He stumbled a little bit. But yeah, overall, I thought it was a great game. I think we have a good chance of being if not the top team, one of the top teams in the Mountain West for this season.
Yeah, the more we're watching them play, the more excited I get for that CSU game. Especially, I think CSU is going to be probably their toughest opponent this season after Texas. And like you're saying, Peasley's amazing at scrambling. He's one of the best scrambling quarterbacks I've seen in a while, especially in college. And I think that's a skill that is you're not really seeing by a lot of quarterbacks these days, where they know how to step out of the pocket and still make something out of that play. So, yeah, I'm excited for the Cowboys. I'm excited to see where the rest of the season is headed. Yeah, and then real quick, I just wanted to mention, just shout out that Oregon beat Stanford 42-6, which was the same exact score as last week against Colorado. Kind of crazy. This is probably like the first time in a while I haven't been nervous for an Oregon Stanford game. Stanford normally gives us a tough time, so
yeah,
it felt good to go into this and be like, no, I'm pretty sure like we'll dominate. I mean, Bo Nix again 4 touchdowns like last week, and like I think the week before that. 290 yards. Like you look at these stats and you're just like, oh, easily a Heisman contender. But then you look at Washington's quarterback, Caleb Williams, like all these other quarterbacks, and you're like, oh my gosh, this is a great quarterback year in general. So I don't
he
know
always has like high touchdowns, but not like high yardage.
His yards,
and he also has like high attempts. So it's like he's having super high attempt games with not too many yards, but a lot of touchdowns.
Right. So how much of it is him and how much of it is the receivers making plays out of it? Oregon's up another spot this week to number 8, slowly creeping our way up.
Heck yeah.
The issue with saying that they're going to have a championship run is Oregon has not really played a team that's tested what they can do. I mean, they've played Colorado, but that's kind of about it. And so I'm getting nervous as we're getting closer to, can they take a team like Penn State? Can they take a team like Ohio State or Michigan? Georgia, I feel like Oregon can take that. Georgia has really been getting exposed.
Georgia?
No, but if they get into that top 4,
gosh,
and have to play Georgia, right? And so I'm just saying, like, who are the possible teams in that top 4? And so
I think they could beat Georgia.
It's the best I've seen our defense in a while, and that's what we've been struggling with is our defense giving up stuff while our offense is having to do all the work. So, as you can see, Oregon's capable of putting up 40, 50-point games consistently. It's just our defense that's let us down. So if our defense is keeping that big difference in the score, then shoot, especially if we have to play a team like Michigan, where Michigan struggles in that first half, then Oregon's offense can take off, and all of a sudden you're up 40-0, 40-7 at halftime, and now Michigan's got to fight back from that. It's just gonna be tough. So I think that we have a chance at a championship run. It just comes down to when we get into those playoffs, if we can keep the role that we're on, or if it's, it also feels like everyone in the top 25 has a chance at a championship run this season. Everyone's been having insane games. So I think this is the best college football we've seen in a while for sure.
It's been a good season for sure.
Yeah. But yeah, dude, we'll move on to news around the world. All right, dude. So we had some decent college games this week. Oregon State played Utah. Oregon State came out with that one, 21-7. That was when I knew it was going to be good because Utah's defense has been pretty solid this season. I mean, they held Oregon State to 21 points after Oregon State had like a 50-point game like the week before. So, good for Utah. Oregon State has moved up to number 15. The issue with this one, or Utah gave up 358 total yards, which I mean isn't terrible. It's a lot of yards for sure. But I mean, like when some quarterbacks alone can put up 300, then that kind of puts it in perspective. But Utah also only had 198 yards. So I think that's where Utah struggles, is they're just not an offensive team.
Yeah, it's purely defense carrying them.
Yeah. So Oregon State's moving up, though, which I'm very impressed with. Same with Washington State. I think it's really cool to see that, especially when you're just like, this is the future of the Pac-12. So it's good for them to represent like that. But moving on, Georgia Auburn. Georgia won 27-20. Probably shouldn't have, but in this one, Auburn gave up
game from them.
Terrible game. In this one though, Auburn gave up 500 yards, which mean, that's insane.
It's insane they had 500 yards and only scored 27 points.
Right. So, I mean, it sounds like Auburn's red zone defense is pretty solid, but do you feel like Georgia got exposed this week? I think this is the toughest opponent they've played all season.
Yeah, I mean, I was telling you, I didn't think Georgia should get the number one spot after that week. I felt they should have moved down just because.
After Michigan blew out Nebraska, too.
Yeah, I mean, Nebraska's not insane, but the fact that Michigan was able to prove themselves and beat the team, and then Georgia struggled against Auburn, who's unranked, aren't they?
Yeah, I don't think Auburn's ranked.
Yeah, so still, I mean, they both played unranked teams, and Georgia beat them by 7 and had 500 yards and gave up almost 400 yards. So I mean, I didn't think Georgia should be able to hold on to the number one spot, but it's all voting and doesn't actually matter how teams play. So
yeah, if I've got the AP polls pulled up right now, and it's got Georgia has 1,501 points or votes, I guess. I don't really know how AP polls work. Michigan has 1,436, so almost 100-point difference between the two.
Yeah, I hate that.
That's insane. So, I mean, looking at Georgia's schedule for the rest of the season, they've got Kentucky, Vanderbilt, Florida, Missouri, Mississippi, Tennessee, and Georgia Tech. 4 of those teams are top 25 right now. So it looks like Georgia's schedule is progressively getting a little harder, but also at the same time, like, these aren't, like, they've got such a light schedule this season.
Yeah.
So do you foresee Georgia holding on to that number one spot for long, or?
No, I think they could easily get taken down. I feel like Michigan will be number one at some point in this season. Yeah, Georgia barely beating Auburn does not seem like a team that should get the number one spot when Michigan every week is like destroying teams.
Yeah. No, for sure. Well, then, so moving on to the USC versus Colorado game, USC wins this game 48-41, but USC drops to number 9. They drop a spot. So, like, for
because
Georgia,
it was so close, probably.
Right. It was a touchdown win. Georgia had the same thing against Auburn. Like, I just don't see how that's fair to, USC, who they lose a spot, but Georgia gets to hold on to theirs, even though, but yeah, I mean, USC Colorado, dude, it was a super hyped up game, and then Colorado was down 34-14 at halftime. So then everyone's like, okay, Colorado's starting to be pretty washed up. But then they fought back to down by 1 touchdown. I think like Shadir Sanders put up like 3 or 4 touchdowns in like the last quarter to bring that close. It's hard when you're playing Caleb Williams, who throws for 400 yards and 6 touchdowns. Like that's just a tough thing. And I mean, like we've said, the Colorado defense is what's kind of getting them these times. I mean, CSU put up a lot of points on them and didn't stand a chance against Oregon. And then, as you can see, USC back-to-back weeks they've allowed 40 points.
Yeah, I mean, I thought Colorado would get blown out. Honestly,
I thought it was going to be
it was just going to be an easy game for USC. But again, I do think they dropped. I mean, Oregon had their win, so they took that number 8 spot. That could play into it. But yeah, I mean,
Oregon dominated too.
Yeah, when you're up 34-14 at the half, and then you almost get a tied game,
right,
against a Colorado team
27 points in the half. Yeah.
Like the exact same thing with Georgia. I don't feel you get to stay in your top spot if you're struggling against.
It's literally the exact same thing. I mean, Michigan and Oregon both had blowout wins. USC and Georgia both had close games to teams that were once like number 24, number 18. because I'm pretty sure Auburn was a top 25 team earlier this season. And if not, that's even worse. Like that's even worse that you have a close game with a team who hasn't been ranked all season. So maybe, I mean, you can't even say, oh, maybe they took into account like yards and stuff. I mean, Georgia put up 500 yards. Yeah. Caleb Williams alone put up 400 yards with 6 touchdowns. Like, you're telling me that's not enough for them to keep that spot over Oregon? I just don't see. And like I've said, like, it's annoying that it's one thing if AP Polls was like, yeah, this is how the people are feeling where they should be ranked. It's another to be like, this is how the people feel where they should be ranked, and it determines who wins the championship. Because it's like, how are you going to let the voting determine your playoff standings? Like, that's insane.
Yeah.
I feel like, okay, this just came to me. What if they did it where each conference has their conference championship, whatever, right? And then they take the champions from each conference into a playoff bracket.
I think that makes sense. I'm surprised they don't do it like that.
You got the top from each section now, right? Like, it's also weird that we just started getting like college playoffs like within a decade ago. Like, it has not been that long.
I figured it had been a while, and then your dad said whatever he said, and I was like, oh wow, really?
Yeah, because they used to just be like, cool, you get a bowl game, you get a bowl game, you get a bowl game. So I feel like it makes sense if they just took all the D1 conferences and they took the champion for each conference and then let them play it out in the playoffs. Because then you're taking the best in each conference, you know?
Yeah.
So I don't know. Maybe it'll be a while before we see Georgia drop out. But it's sad. Anyways, moving on. We also had Ole Miss versus LSU this week, which was a 100-point game. I think the spread was, or I think the over-under was like 60 points. Ole Miss wins 55-49 and has jumped up to number 16. LSU drops 10 spots to number 23. And LSU gave up 21 points in the fourth quarter to Ole Miss for the loss.
Letting them win.
Yeah, that's insane, dude. I didn't realize Ole Miss was built like that.
They're built different. Yeah, I've always, I don't know, maybe it's the colors or the way their like logo looks or something. I've liked Ole Miss.
I've always liked the logo.
Not even I couldn't tell you what they've done as a football team. They might have won a lot. They might have won nothing. I have zero clue. I just like the colors and the lettering. I also don't like LSU at all. So
Joe Burrow? You don't like the Joe Burrow LSU?
I don't like the colors. I don't know. I see highlights of LSU and I'm like, this is gross. I don't want to see this anymore. So I was glad Ole Miss won.
Well,
I didn't have to worry about them for long. Back like that.
Yeah, I didn't. I mean,
I thought they were winning the whole time. I didn't realize that they had to come 21 points in the fourth quarter.
Yes, they had 34 points going into the fourth quarter. That's insane. Anytime someone puts up 21 points in a quarter, it's just disgusting.
21.
Sweet dude. Yeah, and then just a couple NFL games that, honestly, I was looking through like the NFL games from this past week, and it was a terrible slate of NFL. It was a terrible week.
I didn't pay attention to any games.
I was like looking through. I was like, cool. Like, what were some cool games? And I was like, Falcons, Jaguars. Oh, not really. Rams, Colts. I mean, overtime, but not really. Ravens, Browns. Not really. Vikings, Panthers. Not really. Titans, Bengals. Buccaneers, Saints. Bills, Dolphins was impressive just because the Bills are finally showing like their colors. Broncos, Bears. Like, what? Commanders, Eagles was interesting because it was an overtime game, and the Commanders are really starting to show that they can fight. Texans, I mean, they're showing that they're a team to contend with. Chargers, we knew what was happening there. 49ers, Cardinals, Cowboys, Patriots. Like, it was a lot of like good teams against mid to low teams, and so the results were about what you expected. But one of the games, right? One of the games I do want to talk about is Lions Packers. Lions win 34-20, and not necessarily because I want to talk about the game. I mean, Montgomery had 32 carries for 3 touchdowns, pretty good. But I want to talk about just the Lions, right? The Lions are off to a 3-1 start, something we've not seen ever. I don't know. It's been a while since the Lions have been this good. The rest of their season, I mean, they got Panthers, Buccaneers, Ravens, Raiders, Chargers, Bears, Packers, Saints, Bears, Broncos, Vikings, Cowboys, Vikings, right? Decently mid teams for a lot of these. So I don't know. They might have already done it, but do you think that the Lions are clinching the NFC North for the first time?
I mean, they're definitely on track to.
Bears aren't going to contest that.
You shut your dirty mouth.
Vikings aren't going to contest that.
Vikings are 1-3 to start the season.
Packers probably won't contest it.
I don't know what the Pack are. They 2-2?
No, let me see.
Because I think they have the Bears win and they have the Saints win.
2-2. Yep.
They lost the Lions and
they lost last week, didn't they? Oh no, they beat the Saints by 1 last week because it was that comeback. They lost to the Falcons by 1.
Falcons, that's right. Lost to the Falcons and the Lions 2-2. But yeah, Packers doing trash. Bears are going to come back and win the Super Bowl. I feel it in my gut.
Imagine, dude. That'd be ridiculous.
Vikings, I need to get better. Not even because of anything NFL related, but because I have Kirk Cousins and TJ Hawkinson on my fantasy team. So I need them to start playing how they played the first 3 weeks.
But I'm feeling like the Lions clinched the NFC North this year. I'm feeling it.
I think so. I mean, I feel like they definitely beat the Panthers. I see them beating the Bucks. Ravens, I think, will be a tough game.
Ravens will be a tough one.
Raiders should be a win. Chargers will be
a tough one. Just because it's a high scoring. Chargers will be interesting because Chargers are a purely offensive team, and the Lions are a great defense. Yeah, and the Lions are a great defense. What they struggle with is pass coverage. Their pass rush is beautiful with Aiden Hutchinson. My wife was finally able to tell me what his name was because we've been struggling week by week. His pass rush is insane, right? So it's just going to come down to that pass coverage. And if Montgomery Goff, if they let their rookie running back actually play, I think they could put up points on the Chargers, dude.
I mean, Montgomery's insane. I feel like that's
amazing.
all they need.
But Gibbs is also insane.
We don't know that.
He was insane against the Chiefs. Like 2 touchdowns.
Bears have that in the bag. Packers will win again. Saints, I could see them winning, especially if Carr's out.
Bears will win again.
Bears have it in the bag.
Broncos will win. Broncos will
not win.
Broncos will win. Broncos will win.
The Bears almost beat the Broncos. I think the Lions would not fumble.
That's gonna be a fun day in my household. Is Broncos Lions.
That might be the first time we're going for the Lions.
Wow.
I don't know. I think Vikings
Cowboys Vikings.
At the end
That's
of
an
the
interesting
season,
end. Yeah.
I feel they need to step it up if they want to do anything. And end of the season playing the Lions, especially if Lions are leading the division.
Right.
I think the 2 Vikings games to finish the season will be. I think they'll be just hit for hit. Because both teams will need those wins at the end, especially the Vikings.
If it comes down to where the Vikings are fighting for that playoff spot and that division spot, they're going to have to come out. I mean, they get that first game, and then the Lions have to go play the Cowboys, which could be a loss for the Lions, which then could up that last game for the Vikings-Lions even more. I'm thinking that last Vikings-Lions game is going to be one of the best games of this season.
Yeah, 100%. I think their last 3 games are going to be fun to watch. I think there will be shootouts. I think, all in all,
or they
the
get
Lions
tested.
have a great season.
I'm just so glad they got that Chiefs win and haven't let that define their season. Like they've gone in and won week after week. They got 1 loss on the season, and it was in overtime to the Seahawks.
They lost to the Seahawks?
In overtime. It was an insane game, dude.
I haven't been paying attention to the NFL at all this season because I couldn't tell you who played who in what weeks. I didn't.
That's awkward. That's awkward because it's the first season we're starting this podcast, so it's probably the worst time to start doing that.
I've been busy, okay?
So, Lions are on a run. I'm excited to see what they do. But you guys already know we got to bring up our weekly Cowboys tracker. It's just a tradition at this point. I got to keep it in there for the script. We always got to talk about it. The Cowboys
100%.
beat the Patriots 38-3.
Obviously.
Beat the Patriots. I mean, congrats, Cowboys fans. Cowboys had no turnovers. They didn't let that Cardinals loss get to them. So that's good. That's what we talked about last week was this Cardinals loss something, of a fluke, or is this going to define their season? Also, we didn't know the Cardinals were built like that. The Cardinals, they gave the 49ers kind of a run this last week, put up like 400 yards. So the Cardinals are
built.
Cardinals are a good offensive team, right? But like you said, the Cowboys defense stepped it up, and that's what needed to happen. And so, what are you thinking for the rest of the season?
I don't know. I don't know if I can say anything about the rest of the season because, I mean, when we talked about it the first time, we were like, win, 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 win. And then they lost to the Cardinals. And I'm like, I have no up and down. 49ers, I feel, could take them. 49ers have a great defense. Offense looks pretty strong most of the time. Chargers, their defense needs to step it up. They can't have a Cardinals game against the Chargers.
That one's just going to be a Cowboys Chargers is just going to be a purely offensive game. It's going to be who can score the most points. I feel like. I mean, that's every game.
That's how games
work. But it's just going to be who. It's going to come. I think it's going to come down to who has the ball last.
Rams, I think Cowboys have. Eagles will be tough. Eagles have been putting themselves in hard spots and then just like slowly climbing out of it.
I'm waiting for that first Eagles loss, dude.
They need to get more consistent, especially if they're going to be playing the Cowboys defense.
Right.
Giants will be a win. Panthers will be a win. Commanders will be tough. I don't think.
Yeah, when we started this, I would not have thought that, but
Seahawks could be tough. Just depends if they're having an on or off week. Eagles again. Bills will be a good game. I think that will be one of the best games of the season as well.
This last half of their schedule is actually kind of crazy.
Yeah.
Commanders, Seahawks, Eagles, Bills. Why is there no game after the Lions, though?
That's what I was just wondering. Because Lions, Cowboys was the second to last for...
Lions, Cowboys. Oh, Commanders, but it's TBD for January 7th.
Oh, so they just don't have time for it.
It's weird. So they play the Commanders to finish off.
So, I mean, last 4 games will be interesting. I think Bills, Cowboys will be a good game. I think Dolphins, Cowboys should be a good game, assuming Dolphins can continue their run.
Great season.
And then we already said Lions, Cowboys will be one of the top games. Should be.
Yeah.
And then back to Commanders. So
we'll see, dude. That last half of that season's, and that's when you're hunting for the playoffs too. So
yeah,
defense needs to be working. Sweet, dude. Well, we got some updates for other sports because we're not just a football podcast. We're a sports talk. We just don't talk about this stuff because we don't know much about it. So, as I've said before, the WNBA is in the middle of their playoffs. They're actually on the finals now. The Liberty have finished off the Suns 3-1 with a 3-point lead to finish off the last game. Kind of crazy close game. And the Las Vegas Aces swept the Wings for their second sweep of the playoffs. So Liberty versus Aces finals kick off October 8th. I'm feeling like the Aces have just got this. I don't watch WNBA, but just based off what I've seen through these playoffs, I mean, the Aces are looking killer. So that would be interesting. The MLB playoff picture is finally set, which is good because, playoffs start today, so you'd hope that it's ready. Orioles, Astros, Braves, and Dodgers all get that first round bye, while the Blue Jays are fighting the Twins, Rangers versus Rays, Diamondbacks versus Brewers, and Marlins versus Phillies for the wild card. And yeah, I couldn't tell you my picks on this because I suck at, baseball picks. I won a bet for like $80, and that's about it.
Thinking Jays, Rangers, Brewers, Phillies.
Cool. Well, you heard it here first, folks. Place your bets. As for the Champions League, nothing has changed because the second matches start today. So next week we'll have an update on that. But today's day 2 of the matches. So we'll see what happens. So some games to kind of keep an eye out for this week that we think might be interesting. Titans versus Colts. I feel like that'd be a good one. Titans and Colts have both been fighting pretty hard and have been getting some impressive wins. And then Cowboys versus 49ers. Like we've said, this is going to be the test for the Cowboys. This is going to be their toughest team they've played yet. Same for the 49ers. I mean, 49ers haven't had to play a defense like this yet. So this will be, I think, will be a great matchup.
I think it'll be a great game.
Yeah. And then some top 25 teams we got going on this week. Number 1, Georgia versus number 20, Kentucky. Spread on that one's 14.5 in Georgia's favor. Could this be Georgia's first loss? Could this be Georgia's first loss? I'm excited. This could be a good game, dude. I'm excited.
I think, honestly, I feel Kentucky could pull it out.
Yeah.
I think Kentucky has a good shot, especially the way Georgia played last week. Maybe they decide it was way too close of a game for them, and they actually start putting in the work. But if they play how they played last week, I could see Kentucky
be good,
giving Georgia a run for their money.
Definitely. Yeah, especially with that 14.5 spread, I think Kentucky covers that, dude.
Yeah.
We also got number 12 Oklahoma versus number 3 Texas. It's a 6-point spread in Texas's favor. Could this be Texas's first loss? I mean, this is a heated rivalry. Texas is number 3, undefeated so far. But Oklahoma, man, I think it'd be a good game.
Yeah, I don't know. It's not like I want to see Texas win, especially because they beat Wyoming. But they're playing pretty good. They're pretty solid. They did, have a relatively close game against Wyoming. I do think Texas pulls us out, but I think it'll be a close game. I think it will be pretty close.
I think it'll be a good one. Next, we got number 23 LSU versus number 21 Missouri, 6.5 in LSU's favor. LSU, I think, needs to win this or they're out of the top 5. And Missouri is a tough team.
Out of the top 5?
Or top 25, sorry. Missouri is a tough team, so, it'll be a good game, I feel like.
I think it'll be a good game. I don't really care who wins against them. I don't even have a pick for who wins against them.
That's fair. We also got number 11 Alabama versus Texas A&M. I put this on because Alabama's a 2.5 point favorite against an unranked Texas A&M.
Unranked. Yeah, that's it's disgusting. I don't know. Alabama always seems to struggle against Texas teams. I don't know what it is.
They kind of do, yeah.
I want to say that they'll pull out the win, but Texas A&M isn't looking too terrible. Alabama isn't looking too consistent.
Right.
And they have that struggle factor against Texas teams, so I think it'll be a good game.
Texas A&M is who Wyoming played earlier this year, right?
Who?
Texas A&M is who Wyoming played earlier?
No, they played Texas Tech.
Texas Tech, that's who it was. Okay. And then we got number 10 Notre Dame versus number 25 Louisville, 6.5 point spread in Notre Dame's favor. This is a huge game because it gives Notre Dame a chance to move up in the rankings, while it also gives Louisville a chance to move up in the rankings. So
I don't feel like Notre Dame has a problem with this game.
I don't think they do. I think it's
really good.
I think it's a defining game for them because I think it'll be like last season where they have a shot at the playoffs, but because of the way their record went, they don't get that chance. And so they need this win to keep pushing in as, teams like Oregon are still pulling away from that top 10 spot. So yeah, I think Notre Dame's got to get this win here if they're wanting to keep up on that playoff race.
I think they just had a tough game against Ohio State where they
Ohio State's a good team too. I mean, they're number 4.
Call. Oh yeah, 100%. But
it's bad calls.
They had that game if they made better calls at the end of it. I think they fixed those mistakes. I think they played hard. I think they can easily beat Louisville and stay in the top 10.
Yeah. And then last one to keep an eye on, number 24 Fresno State versus unranked Wyoming. 5.5 spread in Fresno State's favor. Can Wyoming pull this off?
I'm hoping. I don't know. I don't feel Fresno State is too hard of a team. Obviously, they are ranked. They're undefeated, aren't they?
Believe so. I think like those top 5 on the 25 are like 25 through 20 or like 5-0 or whatever.
But yeah, I think Wyoming gives it their best shot, especially after what we saw last week. I mean, they were playing on both sides of the ball. They weren't just playing on defense. Their offense was making things happen.
Yeah, Fresno State's 5-0.
And like you said earlier, if Wyoming wants a chance to get ranked, they need to start beating ranked teams. So I think it'll be a good game. I think Wyoming has a chance to win. Maybe not by a lot, but I think they have a chance. Shot.
Sweet, dude. Yeah, I think it'll be a good college football weekend for sure. Maybe not so much NFL, but a lot of good college games. All right, moving on to some hot takes that we love to discuss. Got some interesting one here. I mean, dude, this first one, I didn't think I'd ever say this, but do you think that Bill Belichick is on the hot seat of getting fired?
I hope so. I hate that guy.
Because I mean, like,
he hasn't done anything since Brady left.
His last 3 wins have been against Colt McCoy, Teddy Bridgewater, and Zach Wilson.
Yeah, it's tough.
Like, and I don't know if it's, Mac Jones's fault or if, like, Belichick needs to be doing something different to utilize Mac, whatever it is. But, like, do we just think that that Belichick was only a great coach because of Tom Brady?
Yeah, I definitely think they were a duo that was needed. And then
he lost
once Tom was gone, he hasn't done anything since then. So I don't know. I don't think he has to retire from the NFL. I don't think he's done forever, but I feel like it would be good for him to get a fresh team.
Yeah, that's fair. He's also a mainly defensive coach. I think maybe just stick to defense. I don't know.
And his defense is really good.
His defenses have always
the way he's able to shut down teams. It's just his offense isn't able to move anything. So who knows? Maybe he just goes and plays DC somewhere. Maybe he goes to the Bears and becomes their DC.
That'd be insane, dude.
I would hate that because I hate him. But
yeah, that'd be crazy. We also got another one here. Devon Achane, running back for the Dolphins, is not a fluke. He had an insane week against the Dolphins, and then this week against the Bills, he had 101 yards for 2 touchdowns. Do you think we're going to keep seeing more of this from Achane for the rest of the season?
I think there's no reason not to. I mean, you have 2 insane wide receivers. You have an insane running back. I don't see why you wouldn't have 2 insane running backs and just become lethal on both sides of the field.
Yeah.
I don't know why you wouldn't utilize 4 fast guys. I think he should be on the team.
They've got Dolphins are a fast team, dude. It's going to be hard for teams to contain that. So I think, I don't think it's a hot take. I think that Achane has definitely got it in him, and it's so exciting to see.
Yeah.
This one's interesting, though, okay? People are saying that CJ Stroud is a franchise quarterback.
I don't think that's a hot take at all. I mean, I was talking to you the other day. He has, I want to say it's the NFL record all time for most pass attempts without an interception. I think I told you the other day it was 121 attempts without an interception.
Yeah, I think it was something like that.
He almost has 1,000 yards already through 4 games. I mean, his completion percentage isn't phenomenal. It's also not terrible for a rookie.
He's also getting used to the team, yeah.
The fact that they're 2-2 now, and he's a rookie. The fact he doesn't have an interception as a rookie,
pretty insane.
He's playing super well for a rookie, and if he just continues to grow, he continues to go on the up and up for the rest of his career, I don't think that's a hot take at all.
Especially if they keep building around him, dude. I think Texans in a couple years can be a team to beat, I think.
100%.
Sweet, dude. This one here, I don't think it's a hot take. The Broncos defense is historically bad. I don't think there's much to discuss here. Nope. But what is interesting is that quarterbacks in back-to-back weeks, both, so Fields and Tua, have started the game completing their first 16 passes. Both quarterbacks have gone 16 for 16 to start games.
That's insane. Yeah, that's funny because when they were talking about Fields, I was like, oh, that's Tua just did that. I forgot that it was against the Broncos when I was telling myself that I wasn't thinking like, oh, yeah, that was against the Broncos. Yeah, Justin Fields set a franchise record with that.
Jeez.
Because surprise, no Chicago quarterback has gone 16 for 16. So
I don't think most quarterbacks have.
But yeah, I mean, their defense is looking terrible, which sucks because their offense isn't looking too bad. Their offense is looking pretty decent. But
it's legit switched this year. It's normally the opposite. So
yeah, I mean, if the Bears can put up that on you, you obviously have something wrong.
Yeah, that's tough. Anyways, those are our hot takes for the week, guys. As always, make sure to drop in the comments. If you're listening on Spotify, we always have a section at the bottom there that you can put in some hot takes. We'd love to hear from you guys. But it's time to move on to the last segment of today, our pick'ems. And I think I broke it down earlier when I was putting them together. I think I got you by 1 point this week.
No.
So we both called a Lions win. I had the Broncos. That was a crazy one. Both said Jaguars. We thought the Dolphins would beat the Bills, so that's a tough one. Both called the Ravens. We keep thinking the Steelers are better than they are because they lost to the Texans.
Texans are also pretty good.
Right. Both called the Vikings. You got the Rams on that one, so that was a good one. But I called the Buccaneers against the Saints.
I honestly don't even know why I did that.
I don't know either. We had the Eagles. We need to stop picking the Bengals. The Bengals are done. They're off my list. They're done.
They lost bad to the Titans. Like bad.
Right. And then we had to call, Chargers, Cowboys, Chiefs, 49ers, and Seahawks. So I had you 2-1 this week. But overall, I mean, we did pretty good. We only missed like a couple.
Yeah, it doesn't matter when my parlay lost. So.
That's true. You only need to miss one to break the parlay. But it's a new week with some new pick'ems, and it's honestly going to be really difficult this week. So, first off, Bears Commanders, who you taking?
I don't know. I've been so conflicted. Thanks. Felt so conflicted. Like, if they can play as well as they played against the Broncos, if they can make those good play calls all 4 quarters and not just the first 2, I think the Bears actually have a shot.
Yeah.
The problem is, I don't see the play calls doing that for 4 quarters, and I don't see us playing fully. We do have that starting line back. I'm hoping that makes a difference. As far as I know, the safety is still out with like an ankle sprain or something. I'm going to pick the Bears, honestly. I think the Bears can give the Commanders a run for their money, and I think unless they're tanking on purpose at this point, I think they should need to pick up their season.
Yeah, I'm a snack Commanders, man. I want to believe in the Bears. I think this is going to be this is the time they need to get it, but
it's also
Commanders are also coming off of an overtime clutch close loss to the Eagles. So that'll be interesting. But I think it'll be a good game, hopefully. I'm hoping the Bears don't just lose 50-0.
Yeah. Probably.
There's another tough one. Jets Broncos.
I have no idea. I mean, the Broncos.
I'll say my piece. What you think then? I'm taking the Jets. I'm taking the Jets just because Jets defense is really solid, right? And if you're just going to look at it as a defense versus defensive game, Jets are taking that, right? If you look at offense versus offense, yeah, the Broncos offense has performed, but they've performed fairly mid against fairly mid defenses. I think this will be like the first defense that, I mean, they lost to the Commanders, who the Commanders' defense is pretty solid. And I feel like the Jets have a better defense than the Commanders, especially with that pass rush with cue ball. So, and you got Sauce Gardner out there hunting down that ball. Zach Wilson's coming off of a great game against the Chiefs. I don't know if he's going to carry that into Sunday, but if he does against a Broncos defense, then like I think the Jets take this one. I don't think the Broncos have it in them to beat the Jets, and it's sad to say, but
yeah, I'm going to take the Jets. Jets played really well against Kansas City, and if they can play that well against Kansas City and the Bears can almost beat the Broncos, I think the Jets can beat the Broncos.
Bills, Jaguars. I got Bills on this one. They're starting to pick it up this season.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think you have to think about that one twice. Thank you.
The Bills. This is another tough one. Titans, Colts.
I think the Colts pull it out. I think Colts are.
I think Richardson's back now.
He is back. He did not have a stellar week.
No, he didn't.
No, he didn't.
That's a tough one, dude. I want to say Titans, but I don't know. Not like Tannehill's been doing anything, and Derrick Henry's been okay. Yeah, I'll take the Colts on this one. Saints Patriots. It's gonna be a terrible game.
Patriots had a terrible, terrible week. They did play the Cowboys, though.
Saints defense is also pretty good, though.
Saints defense is okay.
Hey, they're pretty good.
I'm gonna take the Patriots on this one. I believed in the Saints too much, and they let me down. So.
I'm starting Saints defense over 49ers. 49ers play the Cowboys. And I just don't know what like Pollard and them are going to do against the 49ers defense.
Probably not much.
I don't know. I keep going back and forth. I got to make the decision by Sunday, so we'll see. Ravens, Steelers. I got Ravens on that one.
Yeah, I mean, I believed in the Steelers too much, and they kept letting me down. Ravens are actually playing again. So
yeah,
I was waiting until I saw them do that.
Like the Bills, yeah. Texans, Falcons. I got Texans. I think Texans are on a great roll. CJ Stroud's just going to keep performing.
Yeah. Ravens aren't doing anything insane.
Falcons.
What did I say?
Ravens.
I was reading Ravens when I said that, so yeah, that makes sense.
Lions, Panthers. Taking the Lions.
I'm going to take the Lions. Lions are looking insane.
Yeah, Panthers haven't done anything this season.
Panthers, I mean, they've got some wins, but it's not like they were great.
Yeah.
I mean, they lost to the Vikings, who had Kirk Cousins had 2 interceptions.
Pick six.
One being a 99-yard pick six.
Yeah.
He might have also had a fumble. And they still lost that game. So
and now they're going to play a defense that's cracked out their mind this season.
Yeah.
So. Giants, Dolphins. I'm going to take the Dolphins, but I could see an argument possibly for the Giants. But
no, I'm taking the Dolphins. I don't think. Okay. Especially after an embarrassing week against the Bills, I think Dolphins come in hot. Tyreek Hill's going to have over 100 yards, at least 1 touchdown. Running backs are going to go insane. Giants are going to get embarrassed.
Interesting. Bengals, Cardinals.
I don't know. That was the worst thing you could have said in my ear.
I'm taking the Cardinals.
I'm going to take the Cardinals too. The Bengals have let me down every single week, and they just lost pretty embarrassingly to the Titans. So
1-3 game between the two. Who's the favorite
and the
right
Cardinals
now?
have been putting up, good yardage.
Bengals are at a 64% win percentage.
The heck they are.
Yeah, I think the Cardinals are taking that. Eagles, Rams. Are we going to see the Eagles lose for the first time?
I think that will be a good game. I don't know. I don't know. I feel like they have to pick it up. I feel like they have to pick it up.
Yeah.
They have to show what they can do. But the Rams are playing pretty good, so close
I'm
game. Eagles
thinking
win.
Eagles, but I could see another overtime game for that one. Cowboys 49ers. I'm going to take the 49ers, but like I've said,
49ers.
It's going to be a test to see just how good this offense is for the 49ers.
49ers have been pretty consistent, whereas Cowboys have been like iffy every week. So.
Right. Then last one, Monday Night Football, we got Packers, Raiders. I'm going to go Packers. Raiders really haven't.
Yeah, I'm going to do Packers. I don't know if Garoppolo's back yet. Raiders had, I want to say, a bad week. I don't remember for sure what the end score was, but I know they didn't have a good game. I would not be surprised at all if it was just a blowout win.
Yeah. So, and then we got it's started bye weeks, so a lot of teams are missing because they're taking some time
start
off.
of bye weeks already.
Yeah, Seahawks have a bye week this week. So I put in a waiver to drop in Njoku to pick up CJ Stroud.
You're gonna have 3 quarterbacks.
Yeah, because I was like, I don't know if I want to get rid of Justin Fields, especially this week against the Commanders. I'm like, do I trust Justin Fields enough to like start him? But I was like, oh, I don't want to get rid of Geno. So I picked up CJ Stroud. My thought too is if I get him as a free agent and he does turn into a franchise quarterback, then I've got him for the next 20 years.
True.
Just another Justin Fields or He's a Justin Fields. He's a Justin Allen.
He's a Justin Fields.
So we'll see if I get screwed over on waivers again, or if I actually can get the player I want.
Yeah, I'm gonna go try to get CJ Stroud.
I hate you so much.
I should get CJ Stroud and make a
trade offer.
Trade with you.
Gosh, I'll give you Justin Fields for him.
No.
Anyways, guys, that is this week on Average Jose's Sports Talk. As always, thanks for tuning in. Make sure to keep an eye out for next week when we drop our episode 4 and go over everything we just talked about. But until then, have a great week, guys, and go watch some sports or something. I don't know.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.